Business Brain, episode 757 for Casual FridAI, May 29th, National Paperclip Day, 2026.
Did you ever see that video? Guy traded a paperclip for a house. Remember, he kept going. Started with the paperclip.
Right.
Then he traded something a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger and eventually got a house. A really great documentary.
Yeah. I remember
Total
that.
hustler. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hustle. That's a good hustle.
That's great.
Yeah.
Huge.
One red paperclip.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take some ideas, we crunch them, we use them, we dissect them so that we can better tune our business brains and level up our charmed lives. Speaking of charmed lives, our sponsors include Shopify.com/businessbrain, where you can sign up for your $1 per month trial period, and Bitdefender.com/brain, where you can save 30% on Bitdefender Ultimate Small Business Security. Go check those out, but we will talk about them a little bit later in the episode. For now, as usual, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And I'm still in Northern California. I'm Shannon Jean. I love those sponsors. Super great.
Same. Yep.
Very useful. Used them both many times.
Many.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really good. Hey, I'm going to go first since you went first last time.
I was going to suggest that you go first, so we're on the same page. I love it.
Yeah. So I have this, I talk a lot. Maybe you didn't know that, but big mouth. But I'm always talking and doing things like you, singing, talking, everything. I'm not a professional singer like you are. But one of the things I'm doing with my doctor, because my throat is sore often, is he says, you need to track your food, like every single thing you eat.
Sure, just to make sure that it's not, some spicy thing that you're eating that's causing reflux or whatever.
Food and drink and everything. So I'm thinking, okay. So I had this meeting this morning, and I was like, all right, I got to track this. How am I going to do it? So
there's a ton of apps out there you can do this with.
There is a ton of apps, but I actually have access to a product that I already paid for called Claude. It's amazing. And so this is why the SAAS-Pocalypse has happened, right?
Because for sure.
I start talking to Claude in the car. I leave the doctor's office. I get in the car and I start talking to Claude. I said, hey, I need to track all my food and drink, everything every day. And I got to do it because my doctor's, I'm going to meet with them every week. They're going to hold me accountable, and I got to be able to give them this log. And I said, what's the best way to do it? And Claude says, I'll build you a food log, and all you do is take a photo of what you're eating and drinking, and I'll figure out the ingredients, and I'll create the list, and then I'll give me the email you need it to go to, and I'll email it before your next doctor's thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a world we're living in, right? So I'm kind of talking through. So I get back to my office. I look, the log is done on my phone. And he's like, yeah, just hit here every time. And then it shows me how to make an app to put on my home screen. So I could just click it, not have to go into Claude. I could just click right on this food log, web app, if you will. You got to go in through Claude via the web browser on like Safari first or Chrome on your phone. And then you can create a web app out of that.
Right. For sure.
Yeah. That'll because I was like, what's the fastest way? I got to do it quick. I don't want to have to stop. And then I said, all right, well, what if you don't know what something is? And it's like, okay, I'll ask you. So I'll prompt you. It's like, I got it. It's fried chicken and this and potatoes and that. But what's that sauce? Are you dipping in barbecue sauce? Whatever it is, are you eating Chinese food?
Yeah.
So it'll query me because we want all the little details, as well as if I'm cooking something like we like this stuff from Costco, this Kevin's, they make this like prepared meals that I really like.
Okay. Sure.
And so I'm like, if I take a picture of the ingredients, you can detail, of course. So it'll detail it all out. So yeah, I'm curious to see how it's going to work. And
all right. Cool, so you're at least currently not tracking portion sizes or calories.
No,
you're just tracking the contents. Well, for what you're doing, that's not what matters.
I don't really track that.
I see no reason why it couldn't be what you're doing couldn't be expanded to do that for someone who did want to do that kind of thing.
I agree. Yeah, I would think so. Because it would say how big your thing is. This portion. Yeah.
I did I think we talked about it on the show that, this was 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. I wound up, I have these lipomas or whatever all over me, and they were driving me crazy. And I incorrectly reasoned that if I consumed less fat, that I would make less of these fatty deposits. That's not how the body works, by the way.
Got it.
So I was wrong, but still I was like, well, I need to know how much I'm supposed to be eating. And I don't know because the last time I thought about portion sizes, I was like 20.
Same.
And it turns out I'm not 20 anymore. And so I needed something to confirm to me that I was eating enough food, but because my body for the first few days lied to me. It was like, you're starving. You need to eat more. And it's like,
so bad.
I don't think so. So I used an app. I used an app called Lose It. That's for, primarily for people who want to, do weight loss, but that wasn't my intention. But I wound up on like a path to lose like 10 pounds a month but it was easy because I wasn't intending to lose weight. But that app, I paid for a lifetime subscription. And now that app has a lot of what you're talking about. You just take a picture of your food. It didn't have that back then, but now you take a picture and it'll calculate portion sizes and all that. So I see no reason why you couldn't just skip the custom app and just do that with Claude.
And I built it driving home.
Build your own custom app. Like, you can do that too. So,
absolutely. But it's just, I guess the takeaway is don't forget to use your AI for everyday things.
Everyday things. That's brilliant.
It's powerful, and we get caught up in this complex stuff and for businesses, and it's great. And that stuff's awesome too. And that's what we usually talk about on FridAI. But it's the everyday to day, the simple things that can help make your life better.
I'm gonna refine or add to your takeaway from this section here. You said don't forget to use your favorite chatbot for everyday things. Don't forget that your chatbot is more than a chatbot. If all you're using, it doesn't matter. Claude, Chat GPT, Perplexity, Gemini. If all you're doing is chatting back and forth with it, you're missing like 90% of what you can do with this thing.
Exactly.
And what you just and if you don't know what you're missing, guess what? Your chatbot knows. Yes. Because ask it, like say, hey, what am I, you know what I'm doing, you know what I'm up to, what am I missing? And it'll tell you. Like if you're not using Claude Cowork yet, or whatever your favorite LLM's version of that is, oh my God, like you're missing out. I've made so much money. I would argue, is this true? Is what I'm about to say true? What I'm about to say, and I'm trying to decide if it's true, would I have needed to hire another salesperson if I didn't have Claude to prepare my sales like pitches and decks and spreadsheets? And I mean, I don't know if I would have needed to hire somebody else, but it's certainly freed up my time in a similar way to hiring someone.
Yeah, I would have had to hire like another marketing person.
Yeah,
I believe. Or certainly a graphic designer to help me create images that I use every day in various businesses that I'm involved in. Yeah, for sure. What else was I going to? Oh, and I think that like. Everybody, whatever AI you're using, I think you should have a health folder, and you should be talking to it and answering questions about health.
I agree with this.
Game changer.
I 100% agree.
Yes.
However, you need to do it eyes wide open and know that you are feeding your health information to a third party. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, there's no doubt about it. But it's like it's really helpful. I love it. So.
For sure. All right. I have one sort of little thing to think about that I want to share, a little golden nugget, perhaps.
I like golden nuggets.
A redefinition of AI. And I want to have that conversation, but even more than that, I want to tell you about our sponsors. And every entrepreneur knows that 2 a.m. voice, right? The what if no one buys from me? What if I pick the wrong idea? What if I'm not cut out for this charmed life? And you can flip this for yourself, folks, by using Shopify. I use Shopify for another podcast and another one of my businesses, in fact, where we sell merch for both. And we went from, should we even try this, to our very first sale in the same day. Like we had the idea at a staff meeting in the morning. And then I went and I signed us up for Shopify and I went through the process and I got us online and our first sale happened before I went home for dinner. Shopify is packed with AI tools that write your product descriptions, your headlines, and even enhance your product photography. You can spin up email and social campaigns like you've got a marketing team behind you, plus award-winning 24/7 support whenever you get stuck. I've started reading my Shopify analytics out loud like bedtime stories, and that's why I hear ka-ching. It's time to turn those what-ifs into cha-ching with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/businessbrain. Go to shopify.com/businessbrain. That's shopify.com/businessbrain. And our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. And we entrepreneurs often live one click away from chaos, right? One bad link and the charmed life we've been building turns into a very expensive Tuesday. The things that I've been thinking about lately are things like those emails that you get that ask you to redirect someone's paycheck or send you an invoice, right? And like those kinds of things can really send you in the wrong direction. And this is where our sponsor, Bitdefender, stands out for me. Bitdefender is a global leader in cybersecurity, and their ultimate small business security is built for businesses with 25 or fewer employees and no IT team on standby. And what I really like is the AI-powered scam protection trained on exactly these kinds of small business tricks. You also get business reputation monitoring, password management, unlimited VPN, and one clean dashboard so you can secure the whole team without becoming the security department yourself, right? I love what they're doing, and I think it's great. Keep your small business safe with Bitdefender Ultimate Small Business Security and save 30% when you go to bitdefender.com/brain. That's bitdefender.com/brain for 30% off. Go check it out. I think you're going to like it. And our thanks to Bitdefender for sponsoring this episode. So I think, we talk a lot about AI here. It's FridAI, of course.
Yes.
And we all know AI is artificial intelligence. I think that term is wrong. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of people that will say, well, it's not it's all this stuff. Fine. I also think that's a misleading term in insofar as how we best can use it. And so I realize that the way that I use AI is not as an artificial intelligence, but as an assistive intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because it is helping me. It is not replacing me. It's not to a point where, we just talked about, what I replaced another salesperson. I don't know, I still had to be the one driving the bus on those sales. I'd still benefit from having a different person fielding that stuff, right? Because then it's it requires no brain power from me. But it's the assistive part that takes the grunt work away, right? Whether it's from me or from somebody else on my team, right? It is intelligent to a point, and it's able to do a lot of things. It needs a lot of guidance. But with guidance, man, it's a superpower, right? And so assistive intelligence is how I'm thinking about it now. And I just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah.
I love that. There's all these people paranoid about everybody losing their jobs. I listened to Gary Vee this morning talking. He's like, nobody's going to lose their jobs. Everybody's going to have different jobs. It's just going to change, just like it always has, right?
Welcome. Technology has been doing this for a long time.
Correct.
The Industrial Revolution. Has anyone studied that?
Yeah. What happened to all those people that worked at Sears? What happened to all the people at the mall? Everything changes, right?
My favorite example, Shannon, is you and I are of a similar vintage, and so I know you will remember this too. People a decade or certainly 2 decades younger than us did not live through the period of time when Photoshop hit the market.
Oh,
everything that's being, and I had this conversation with somebody who's in their 30s recently, and they were shocked by what I'm about to say. When if you can take most of 80% of what people are saying about AI taking people's jobs and being terrible, and it's not art and all those things. You can take all those comments, and 80% of them if you just take AI out and drop Photoshop in, those words, those words have all been said before. It was just a couple of decades ago. Because when Photoshop hit the market, people were like, oh my gosh, graphic designers are going to lose their minds or lose their jobs and their minds. And I remember thinking, gosh, because I was, in technology and a nerd and always on the cutting edge. And I was like, I don't see that because like I have access to Photoshop. I don't know how to use it.
You got to know how to use it. Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah. I don't have the right mind
for
to
artists
use it.
That were already designing. It was an incredible assistant.
And and of course, that's what it became. And today we know of Photoshop as like the assistive tool that every art or some competitor to Photoshop, like you might choose to use, Pixelmate or something. I don't know, whatever. But, you're using software to help. And by the way, even if you say you're not using software to help, every camera you have is using software between the lens and what you get as the original picture, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's huge.
Yeah.
It's a great analogy. And I love the acronym because it's actually like, it's allowed me to hire more people to build something bigger that I would have had to pay for, I wouldn't have been able to get there. And, another analogy that I think about, like before the internet. And I remember driving my daughter one day, she was in like middle school.
Sure.
And internet was just, she was just kind of getting into the web and all this stuff. And she made a comment to me that I'll never forget. She said, Dad, before the internet, why did you need a computer?
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, it reminded me of those Sun Microsystem ads that says the internet is the computer, right? Which is kind of much more true now than it was back then. Yeah. But I got the whole thing. Well, why would you need a computer if you did? Because the internet is everything to these kids and they grew up with it where we did not. We transitioned.
Well, I mean, you might be using the royal we. I definitely, I'm one of the weird Gen Xers where I've been online since I was about 14.
Yeah. I was in chat rooms. What did they used to call that?
IRC?
Yeah, it was IRC, but there was like a whole, I can't remember the community that it was pre-AOL.
Yeah.
It was some chat community service, but I forget. It wasn't IRC. It had a GUI, a graphical interface to it.
Oh,
but I can't remember what it was. But anyway,
I started way before GUIs were a thing. But yeah.
So I like the positioning, and
I agree with your daughter. I mean, I certainly had a computer before I was able to get online. And it was a big chore to get my computer online. I had an Apple IIc, which it needed a reverse serial cable. It was a whole thing. It took probably a year before we figured out how to make a modem work with this computer. It was a super frustrating thing. And I was using it and loving having this computer. Don't get me wrong. And I'd been using computers, for years prior to that. But once I got online, the purpose of that computer was to get me online. Like it is true. It changed everything for me in that moment. And online meant something very different then than it does today. But it was still the same thing. Yeah.
But it did the same thing where it created more abundance.
It created community and abundance and all of that. Yeah.
Yes, there's negative sides to it, but that's just life. And so
and those negative sides, everybody says social media. And when they say this, they mean Facebook and X and Instagram or whatever. Social media has is terrible. It's ruined things. And I'm like, well, but like this is not new. I had bulletin boards when I was a kid. That's what we dialed up to.
One of the software. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had the same. There were bullying problems. There were people that had major life consequences because of what happened on bulletin boards. Like it was all this. It's human nature is what causes these problems, not Facebook. I mean, Facebook and Instagram, like they've fed into this and they've made profitable business. We weren't making profitable businesses out of it back then, but the human nature element of this ain't no different today than it was 40 years ago.
No, you're right.
Or 140 years ago. We just didn't have computers back then.
That's right. Yeah, I was trying to name it that bulletin board I used to get into. But anyways, neither here nor
Yeah,
there.
now I'm
But
curious.
yeah, I think it's great. And I think the big takeaway today is yours. That we should be calling it assistive technology. Is that right?
Oh, see, I might disagree with you. I actually, assistive intelligence. It's still
Assistive
AI,
intelligence.
right?
Still
That
AI.
is, yeah. But I would argue that the kind of the iteration of what we came up with yours, that if you're only using your chatbot as a chatbot, you're not using it enough. I think that's the more important, the bigger takeaway for this. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Like we have to, but we have to decide. So like we can't end the episode.
I'm willing to. Yeah, I think they're both really important. I think that. Yeah, I'm okay with the using your AI for smaller, simpler things in your life, and not just using it as a chatbot. I think that's very important. I would hope that, and maybe we're just farther along. I would hope that'd be obvious by now. But
well, I think that's why I'm going with it, because the AI is assistive intelligence. I mean, I obviously agree with that. I brought up the topic, but that's not as. I guess if you take that thought like we did and extend it, there is value to it.
That's what I meant. That's what I'm looking at is the way you think about it, the way you talk about it to other people. Because most people that I talk to, like the civilians that work for other people and do other stuff, they're really nervous about it because they're getting. I think we should talk about this next week, but I think there is a concerted effort to flip the script on AI and data centers and make them negative especially to a specific demographic or age group, I guess, maybe not demographic.
Yeah. Okay.
And
that is a demographic. An age group is a demographic. So
that's a demographic. Sure. Okay. Make sure. So especially like I've been watching some things where during graduation commencement speeches, any mention of AI has been booed by the college graduates who I think are worried about their jobs. And I think there's more to it. And I'm going to hold this for next week. Okay. I believe, and I can break it down. I think there's more to it than that. This just casually happening.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Huh. So that'll be for next Friday. I'm going to make a note right now.
All right. That's great. Yeah. Make a note. That's good. All right. Yes, I should have started the little vamp happening, but I did. Now it's good. Look at that.
There you go.
Ask and ye shall receive. Thanks for hanging out with us, folks. This is it's always fun. We love what we get to do together.
We do.
And thanks for hanging out. BusinessBrain.show, feedback at BusinessBrain.show, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.